And what we learned by doing this is that, wow, our kids really stepped up to a whole new level when they were surrounded by high-level competition. Because they're kind of used to being some of the best in kind of average teams, right?
But it was really neat because their self-images have gone up.
Yeah.
Like their motivation to try and work hard, even just the level of them being able to effectively communicate with their coaches and stuff like that has all stepped up. Hello, everyone. We are Greg and Jacquie Francis, and welcome to High Performance Parenting, where our passionate goal is to encourage you to raise champion children in a crazy world. Every week, we will bring you multiple episodes from our extensive experience of raising our six happy, healthy, successful, godly kids who are confidently equipped to win big in life.
We deeply believe that any parent who is provided with the right knowledge and continual support can raise amazing kids. And when they do, all of our futures get better. If raising up future generations of absolute champions matters to you as much as it does to us, here's how you can contribute. Like and share this podcast with everyone you know. And together, let's embrace this journey of raising champion kids in a crazy world.
Hey guys, welcome back. Excited to be here with you guys today. Actually, back in the studio is my better half. That did not go. That did not go.
Hey, people are excited that I'm back.
I'm sure because they've missed all your jokes, huh?
Maybe.
I doubt it. I think they felt relief for a while, but the kids brought some. Kids brought some.
So let's tell the truth. All right. We were at an event this weekend, and somebody came up to me in the hallway and said, Greg, I love your wife. I love your wife. I love Jacquie Francis. That's what she said. And I said, okay.
You didn't say you too?
And she says, but I need to talk to her about something. I'm like, okay, what's that? And she said, you actually are really funny. And she needs to let you tell more jokes.
Ba-bum-bum.
It's not a joke. It's the truth. It's the truth. And then what happened? We were on stage in front of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And you said, I don't think Greg's funny. I don't think Greg's funny at all. Does anyone here not think Greg's funny? Nobody raised their hand.
The whole crowd raised their hand.
They did not. You obviously had the lights in your head.
Oh, it was on my head? On my head.
Whatever, both, I guess.
I don't think so, Greg Francis, but that's okay. Like, we all appreciate you.
All right. Well, speaking of being funny, I do have something to ask you. Honey, what do you get if you cross an angry sheep with a moody cow?
What?
An animal that's in a bad mood.
Wow. Wow. Gosh, I've missed these.
You laugh. Why do you try not to laugh?
They're not that funny.
It is funny, and you know it.
I just can't believe the amount of time you take to find these jokes.
You know, it doesn't discourage me when you tell me I'm not funny. It just makes me try harder. You know that, right?
Okay, but then if I start encouraging you, you'd be like, babe, thanks so much for encouraging me. Like, I love this.
Yeah. Well, anyways, what do you want to talk about today?
Oh my gosh, we've been busy lately.
We have been.
I mean, it's not really any different than any other time in our life.
It's always some form of busy in some direction, isn't it?
I was wondering about this, actually. Greg and I were sitting at home. We were in our kitchen area. What was it, like about 2 weeks ago or something like that? I don't know. Maybe 3 weeks ago now. I always say the other day, but really it could be like, 6 weeks ago because it all flies by so quickly. Yeah. But we were just discussing, like, when do you think things will calm down? Like, when do you think things will get calm and we will, quote unquote, have all of our ducks in a row?
How do you define how do you define calm? This would be a good question.
I don't know, but we've been married 20 years.
Yeah.
And I'm still wondering when that time is coming.
Yeah.
And what was your response to me?
I think it's kind of like one of those things. It's where wherever you go, there you are.
So embrace the craziness.
It's one of those things where it's like, if Bob thinks Jim thinks things are crazy, and if Bob thinks Ed thinks things are crazy, and if Bob thinks Julie thinks things are crazy, maybe it's Bob.
Right, just like that awesome book, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that's us. I think that we actually enjoy a level of chaos. We flirt on both sides of it. If it calms down too much, we add more stuff on our plate because we feel like we're not being productive enough or doing enough. And if it gets too much, then we complain about why it should come back to not being so chaotic. It's our life dance, I think, is what we do. And,
Yeah.
it's just instead of fighting it, we just embrace it.
Right.
And,
But it made me start thinking, how many people out there that are, working at a high level in their life, that have a lot on their plate, quote unquote, and that are doing a lot in life with kids, family, everything else. I mean, are they too obviously living at a level of craziness?
yeah, I think, I don't know if it'd be called craziness. I just think that one thing that we have learned is how to, over time, figure out our capacity,
Mm,
what we care about the most, what things we I think what's healthy chaos for us versus unhealthy chaos for us. Like for instance, so here we're in at this point we're recording this 2024 January, right? And we've already mapped out our calendar for the year.
hmm
I mean, we have 90% of what we're going to be doing this year, the big chunks anyways, mapped out. We have kids sports. We know which seasons they're playing. We know what days they're playing and practices. We have how many sports they're going to be in. We know we have some of our key big family trips this year based on, honestly, really around the sports schedule, the months that are free. We have business events that we have in the calendar. And, there's like these different levels of chaos that we're willing to accept. When we didn't have kids, we filled our calendar with a ton of business events, right?
hmm
Lots of just like foundational growth to get our future more in place to prepare us for a family. And that was our level of chaos that we wanted at that time. It was busy. We pushed ourselves. We could have done it probably less, but also at the same time, we kind of knew what we were working towards. And like right now, our biggest level of quote unquote, what's the word I want to say? Accepted chaos, I guess. Welcomed chaos, maybe is a better way to say it, is, the kids' sports schedules. We're just in a season right now with our kids are between, 5 to 14, almost 15, which is crazy, coming up in 2 months. And they're really having fun when engaging in local sports. And so, our chaos right now revolves around putting them in sports, being part of it at the level that we can be. You and I tag teaming between some kids going to some directions one night of the week. I'm going, we're taking the other kids in another direction. But the point is, as much as that is chaotic, we enjoy that chaos. We've chosen that chaos, and it works for us in this season right now. Now, on other sides of the coin, the one thing we're not really willing to do right now is too much business chaos. Meaning for traveling in particular. We still do what we do, but we do most of what we do virtual now. Why? Because we're in such a family season. Doesn't mean we're not productive. Doesn't mean we're not increasing. Doesn't mean we're not winning. It just means that, you and I have really discussed this, and our priority is to physically be at a lot of sports things, but still at the same time succeed in business things, right? And that might shift. Down the road, we might do different stuff. We might have a high priority on traveling. Once the kids are out of sports and stuff like that, we don't know. But right now, that's our season, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest key right now is to embrace the season that you are in, and that every season changes.
Mm-hmm.
Probably as parents, you can remember when your kids were younger, that season of, the newness of it all and the unpredictability and just, along with some schedules at the same time. And maybe things were limited as far as what you could do because your families were so small and young. And then you see the season when they're very active. The kids are very active and they're in all kinds of activities and maybe you're more flexible with wanting to put time into that. And then there's a season when they're older and maybe, they don't need you to be the taxi driver all the time or the person with them next to them at every sporting event. And then there's a season for that also. And so I think that's kind of what we're going through right now. We're kind of embracing the season that we're in right now, while at the same time being very passionate about what we want to do as far as business and goals and whatnot. But I think we're also smarter with our time.
Yeah.
We've learned along the way what it looks like for us to overbook our calendar with too many things. And that could be sports, that could be business, that could be social time. It could be any of it. We've gone to the extreme of all of them in the wrong way. And it has caused us a level of chaos that we do not enjoy.
Yep.
That in fact, we resent or dislike doing any of it. And so learning the hard way, when you brought up the big calendar that we just did, how important it is that, you really are on the same page with what matters. And you're really planning, and then you follow through with it. There's been sometimes when we've planned a lot, maybe it was more business endeavors in a season. Yep. And after that year, we looked back and we were like, although we had a great time doing what we said we would do, this upcoming year, we want to do a new shift and focus on something else. And I think that's healthy. I think that's healthy when, a couple sits down and discuss what's best for them long-term for the next season. It doesn't have to be forever. And to both embrace that when you are in it then, because you've committed to that.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's even like right now we're in our Florida home, which the process of getting this home was when we used to live in Wisconsin, and we just kind of over time just always had a desire to have some warm weather in the winters. And then it was a process. So it was a couple years of coming down and exploring and finally finding a community one. Then it was a year and a half of having it built, but we came down and kind of enjoyed that process. And yeah, and then, we enjoyed the last couple of years, and we've already told the story a little bit about how we ended up in Boise, but now here we are. And as much as we want to have, Florida sun for 4 or 5 months of the year, the reality is whether we live in Boise, and this is kind of a long distance now for traveling, or not, I don't know if it really makes sense, because how do we get the girls in tennis in the spring, and all the other sports that we have going on? Like, we really only have 2 months of the year now that we have a window where they're not in some kind of a consistent sport. And so that's not enough to really justify having a Florida home for 5-6 months of the year, right?
Yeah, I think it's just, again, this season now.
Yeah.
Just embracing and appreciating. So maybe you're out there and you're thinking, oh, and this is something that actually we had to process and go through ourselves and still are processing a little bit, I guess. But the moral of the story is that, each season, whether you thought it was going to last longer or you thought it would be shorter sometimes, to embrace the season that you are in. I heard one of our friends say a while ago that, embrace the season that you're in, because most likely you're going to want that season back again.
Yeah.
And so, I think if you're sitting out here and you're thinking to yourself, my gosh, I am in that same boat. Like, a season is changing. And whether I wanted it to, or it needed to, or it's just the best decision for us to start seeing the positive in it. Like for us personally, we really thought, okay, we're going to have, 4 or 5 months, 6 months, I guess, really, in the warmth. But we're now looking forward to new places we can explore around our area where we've been now positioned, that are going to have warm weather for us, that we would have never had the opportunity to do so, most likely, because it just would have been such a distance for us. It would have been just kind of inconvenient for us at one point.
Yeah, we're just getting more creative. I mean, it was really a real lesson to us this past year, though, when we moved to Boise. And we just decided, okay, well, first of all, we went there because we knew there was a strong community, which was going to be a lot of fun for our family. Because the reality is our kids are, especially our oldest girls, they're getting to an age where they need some community.
They want it.
And we wanted to put them in a good community with some good people with very similar kingdom values.
Yeah, very healthy.
You don't find that everywhere, And so once we did, we were willing to take that sacrifice and put ourselves in a position to get our kids raised up in a good community, not just in our own home. And but then as we said, okay, well, let's try some local sports. And it was kind of an experiment. We've done local sports in different towns, but again, it wasn't the same caliber, I would say, of competition, et cetera.
Right.
And what we learned by doing this is that, wow, our kids really stepped up to a whole new level when they were surrounded by high level competition, because they're kind of used to being some of the best in kind of average teams, right?
But it was really neat because their self-images have gone up.
Yeah.
Like their motivation to try and work hard, even just the level of them being able to effectively communicate with their coaches and stuff like that has all stepped up in ways that we would have never had the opportunity to put them in had we stayed where we were.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so once we experienced this past year, that's when it would really open our eyes. And again, to speak to the crowd out there, this is where some of flexibility comes in. It's like, I feel like you do the best you can with what you currently know. And whether at that time, a few years ago, we're like a Florida home plus a Wisconsin home is going to be great. And we'll get our kids into different camps and everything else. And now the desire is different, right?
Yes.
And so here we are. And then as we experimented, originally we moved to Boise, we thought we'd still keep Florida for at least another year. But the reality is we started engaging in it, and the sports thing really kind of took off, and it just brought a whole new dynamic to our kids. And
the community that we're part of now.
And so
the church and stuff just changed our whole perspective on what it's like to have a community.
Yeah. And so we had to make some choices around that. But we'll talk about it in the next episode.
All right.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening and thanks for your love and support. We hope that today's episode added tremendous value to you and your family. It would mean so much to us if you would partner with us on our mission of helping parents around the globe raise champion children in this crazy world.
To do so, simply take a moment to like and share this podcast with everyone in your network. See you next time.